Anthropic, the company behind Claude, just signed a deal with SpaceX to take over the entire computing capacity of the Colossus One data center in Memphis, Tennessee. Over 220,000 NVIDIA GPUs, enough electricity to run over 300,000 homes. And they need it because the demand for Claude is so far ahead of supply that they've been rate limiting their own paying customers for months. And a few weeks before that, SpaceX struck a deal with Cursor, the AI coding tool that gives SpaceX the option to buy the company for $60 billion. And just last month, the biggest free cloud providers on the planet reported earnings for Q1 of 2026. AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud, all three of them posted record revenue. All three beat analysts' expectations, and all three raised their spending plans once again. And when you add all of it up, big tech is on track to spend over $725 billion on AI infrastructure this year. That's up 77% from the last year, and that number is projected to cross $1 trillion in 2027. So, what is actually going on? Why are the biggest companies in the world committing $725 billion to AI infrastructure in just a single year? Where is all of that money actually going? And what does all of this mean for you if you work in tech or you're trying to break in? Let's break it down. To understand why this much money is being spent, you need to first understand the biggest problem that the entire AI industry is dealing with right now. There is not enough computing power to meet the demand for AI. Every time that you send a message to ChatGPT or Claude and you get a response back, that response isn't appearing from thin air. Somewhere in the world, a physical machine in a data center is running billions of calculations, consuming electricity, generating heat, and using memory and bandwidth to generate the answer. This is called inference. And every single token, every chunk of text that AI processes and produces, that costs real money to compute. Now, multiply that across hundreds of millions of users, thousands of enterprises, AI agents running automated tasks around the clock, and you start to begin to see the actual problem. The demand for compute is growing exponentially, and the infrastructure to serve it simply doesn't exist yet, not at a scale that is needed. Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, said it directly on their latest earnings call. Google Cloud is compute constrained in the near term, meaning that their revenue would have been even higher if they could physically serve all the demand coming in. The cloud backlog, the contracts already signed but not yet fulfilled, nearly doubled in a single quarter to over $460 billion. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy committed $200 billion in capital expenditure for 2026, and he told investors that most of the new supply is already spoken for. He called AI a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and he said that Amazon is not going to be conservative about how they play it. Microsoft raised its CapEx guidance by 24%, putting 2026 spend at roughly $190 billion. Satya Nadella said that the number of customers adopting AI models through Azure doubled from the prior quarter. And even Meta, which isn't a cloud provider, raised its budget to $145 billion, nearly double from last year. Zuckerberg admitted that Meta has continuously underestimated its own compute needs, even as it was erased spending at record levels. So you've got the 5 biggest technology companies in the world all saying the same thing simultaneously. Demand is outstripping what we can build. We need more. We need it now, and we're willing to spend whatever it takes to get there. That's the starting point. And once you understand why the demand is this intense, the rest of the picture just clicks into place. So naturally, the question becomes, where is all of this demand actually coming from? The first is the frontier AI labs themselves, companies like OpenAI and Anthropic. These companies are training the most powerful AI models ever built, and the cost of doing that is growing roughly at 2.4 times per year. The next generation of frontier models, the ones being trained right now, are heading towards $1 billion per single training run. Dario, the Anthropic CEO, has said publicly that $1 billion runs are already happening and $10 billion runs are probably a few years away. These frontier AI labs cannot build their own data centers fast enough. So in short, it's because they just don't have the funding. Nearly half of all new data center projects are being rejected. And when you consider that it'll take 2 to 3 years to build out a full AI factory, they simply cannot afford to wait that long because the demand for their services is so high right now. So what do? Well, they go to the cloud providers. OpenAI just expanded an existing AWS commitment by $100 billion over 8 years. Anthropic's primary infrastructure runs on AWS. Google uses its own infrastructure for Gemini. Microsoft was OpenAI Exclusive's cloud provider through Azure, and that was until last month. When they rewrote their entire deal, OpenAI is actually now free to sell its own models across any cloud provider. And the first place that they went, AWS. And then we have the deal that literally just happened. Anthropic signing with SpaceX, who have so much excess capacity, partly because Grok doesn't have that many users. Anthropic is now pulling in capacity from everywhere that it can get because the demand from their customers is growing faster than any single provider can even build. Now, here is the second source of demand, and this one is actually larger. Every enterprise in the world that wants to use AI also needs cloud infrastructure. When a Fortune 500 company wants to dabble into AI and build their own internal tools and their services, they don't build their own data center or use a ChatGPT interface like the public does. Instead, they go to AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud. AWS has reported that customer spending on AWS Bedrock, their service for building AI applications and accessing models, jumped 170% in a single quarter. It consumed more tokens in Q1 alone than his entire history going back to 2023. Microsoft has said that the number of customers adopting Anthropic and OpenAI models through Azure or Azure doubled from the previous quarter, and Google's products built on generative AI models grew revenue 800% year over year. So both sides of the equation, the labs building the models and the enterprises using them, are flooding into cloud providers simultaneously. And that's because they literally cannot build capacity fast enough to serve the customers who are already there. And by the way, if you're serious about landing a six-figure cloud engineer role in 2026, then just check the link in the description below and book a call with my team. Okay, so the next obvious question is, what are all of these businesses actually doing with AI that's worth this much money? And the answer is everything. Think about what a typical enterprise is trying to do right now. They want to deliver better experiences for their customers. They want to cut overhead costs. They want to automate internal workflows that have been running manually for years. They want to ship new features and products faster. They want to pull real insights out of the mountains of customer data that they've been sitting on but never really had the tools to properly analyze. And they want to do all of this without tripling their headcount. Now, before AI, achieving one of those things was a multi-year project. You'd hire a consulting firm, you'd spend 6 months on a strategy deck, another year building the systems, and by the time that it shipped, the market had already moved on. But now, a team of engineers with access to the right AI models can prototype in a week, deploy in a month, and iterate in real time. The speed at which companies can go from idea to production has fundamentally changed, and that's showing up across every single function. Customer support teams are now deploying AI agents that handle the high volume, repetitive queries so the human agents can focus on the complex stuff that actually needs human judgment. Marketing teams are using AI to generate content, personalized campaigns, and cut external agency spend. Product teams are using AI coding tools to ship features in days that used to take months of sprints. Legal teams are running document review through AI workflows that used to require rooms full of associates. Finance teams, HR teams, sales teams, every single department is running the same experiment right now. What can AI do for us, and how fast can we get it in front of customers? And here is the part that actually makes this structurally different from every other technology wave that we've seen. Up until now, the money businesses spent on software and tools came out of one budget, the IT budget. Companies had a fixed pot of money for tech tools, they spent it, and those tools helped the employees to do their jobs. Think of Salesforce or Microsoft as a great example. That's been the model for decades. But now with AI, this is different. AI is the first technology in history that pulls money from a completely different pot, the labor budget. And I don't just mean salaries, I mean the entire ecosystem of external spending that businesses use to get the work done. Think about what a Fortune 500 company used to do when they needed to solve a big problem. They would bring in a consulting firm. Your McKinseys, your Accentures, your Deloittes, they would pay them millions and then wait for a year for them to actually build something useful. Or they would outsource the work to agencies, contractors, offshore teams. That is all labor budget. And for 30 years, that's how businesses operated. Now, what's happening is that those same companies are opting to go straight to AI. They are paying for AI tokens instead of paying for consultants and labor. They're building internal AI workflows instead of hiring external agencies. A team of engineers with access to the right models can now do in a month what used to take a year. The work still gets done. It just costs a fraction of what it used to, and it happens dramatically faster. And then internally, it's the same story. When a company gives the engineering team access to AI coding tools and they start shipping at 3 times the speed, that team is now doing the work that would have previously required a much larger headcount. That's a direct productivity gain coming out of what would have been the labor budget. And once you understand that, the numbers just click. Total global IT spend last year was about $5 trillion. Total global labor spent in salaries, consulting, outsourcing, contractors, and agencies, all of it around 60 trillion, 12 times bigger. So when you see Anthropic hitting record revenue, when you see AWS is growing at 28% on a base of 140 billion, when you see Google Cloud hitting 20 billion in a single quarter with 63% growth, what you're actually watching is that AI is starting to tap into a market 12 times the size of the one every previous software company was competing in. And that's why the growth curves look completely different. That's why the spending projections keep going up. They're not selling into the IT budget anymore. They are selling into the labor budget, and they're still at the very beginning of it. So what does all of this mean for you? Well, every single dollar of that $720 billion in infrastructure spending creates a downstream demand for engineering talent. The systems that run these AI models in production, all of that requires engineers who understand cloud infrastructure. Without cloud computing, the sheer scale and transformation that we are seeing thanks to AI wouldn't be possible. The US Bureau of Labor Statistics projects that cloud-related roles to grow 25 to 26% through to 2034. The average job grows at 4% a year. Cloud security saw a 73% surge in demand in a single year because AI systems bring entirely new attack surfaces. And the area that's got the most demand right now is for engineers who can deploy and operate and then optimize AI systems on cloud infrastructure. And this is where cloud engineering becomes the Swiss Army knife. Think about what a cloud engineer actually does day to day. One morning, you're working with a development team to architect the infrastructure for a new AI-powered product, deciding which services to use, how the components talk to each other, making sure they can scale if usage takes off. That afternoon, you're writing infrastructure as code that can spin up entire environments in minutes. The next day, you're deep in security, locking down access controls, making sure the right people can reach the right things and nobody else can. Then you could be optimizing costs, right? Figuring out where the company is bleeding money on idle resources. Then you're building monitoring systems so the infrastructure watches itself and catches problems before customers even notice. And increasingly, you're working directly alongside AI teams to deploy and manage the models that are powering the actual business. Cloud engineering doesn't lock you into one single role. It's the foundation that opens up doors across the most in-demand specializations: DevOps, platform engineering, site reliability, solutions architecture, cloud security, data engineering, MLOps. You can freely apply to all of these roles and move between them because they all share the same core knowledge. And layered on top of that is something that we talked about earlier. The economics of AI mean that your value as a professional is shifting. It's no longer just about your salary. It's about your salary plus your token output, the work that you can produce by combining your domain expertise with AI tools. Jensen Huang recently said if a 500K a year engineer wasn't spending at least 250K a year in tokens, he was going to be very upset. So a cloud engineer who can architect AI infrastructure, deploy models into production, and use AI to amplify their own productivity, that person operates at a fundamentally different level. And the reason that they can do that is because they understand how the whole system connects, from the chips to the data centers to the cloud platforms to the models to the end-to-end user applications. The cloud engineer sits in the middle of all of it. You are the person who understands how AI actually works under the hood, how it consumes compute, how it moves data, how it scales, how it fails, and how to make it reliable and secure. That's what systems thinking actually looks like in practice. The combination of cloud infrastructure expertise plus practical AI fluency is the rarest and the most valuable skill set in the market right now. The ability to make AI systems actually work in production at scale on real infrastructure. That's what companies are desperate for right now. And there are simply not enough people who can do it. Now, if you got to this point and you're serious about landing a cloud engineer role in 2026, then just check the link out in the description below and book a call with my team. We are busier than ever right now because of the AI boom and because of the results that we're getting. Salim just got hired as a cloud security engineer at American Express. Tomislav landed a platform engineering role. Mac went from IT help desk to hired at AWS as a systems engineer. And now while working at AWS, he's also a coach inside of my academy. Talk about proof, hey? Eddie went from non-technical cybersecurity to cloud security engineer in just 5 weeks. Rob, in just 7 weeks, went from layoff to cloud infrastructure engineer role. He actually got a second offer from IBM as well. Then you've got Travon, Eric, Tomislav, all landed cloud engineering roles in just the last month. Silas got hired as a platform engineer. Dominic landed a role at Siemens as a cloud DevOps engineer. And then just last week, I actually hired a cloud engineer from our own community to work with me on my software company, StudyTech.ai. So yes, that's why we are busier than ever before, because we've got world-class coaches, including myself, in the trenches every single day. Now, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that just because those students got hired, you will automatically too. Obviously not. You still have to put in the work and show up consistently. But what you do get is a complete roadmap, portfolio projects, daily life coaching calls with senior engineers, and everything that you need to actually build the skills that the market is paying for right now. So if you're looking to land a cloud role in 2026 and you want my help specifically, click the link in the description below, watch the short video, and book a call with my team. Now then, $720 billion being spent this year, and it's heading past $1 trillion next year. The cloud providers will be benefiting the biggest because the AI labs building the models and the enterprises using them both need cloud infrastructure. The compute shortage is so severe that Anthropic is signing deals with SpaceX just to get enough GPUs. OpenAI broke out of its own exclusive deal with Microsoft because it needed more capacity than Azure alone could even provide. And all the big tech CEOs are all saying the same thing. Demand is exceeding what we can build. Cloud engineering sits underneath all of it. It's a skill set that spans across everything, from the data centers being built to the models being deployed to the enterprise workflows being reimagined. Position yourself at the intersection of cloud and AI, and you'll be no longer competing for one type of role. You'll be positioned for an entire category of opportunity that's only going to keep expanding for years and years. With that said, there is one mindset shift that I want to leave you with. You have to become so good that you are undeniable. Period. Not, I hope to get a job. Not, I hope the market works out for me. You build the skills that are so valuable, so in demand, and everyone knows about them so that companies come straight to you. And right now, with everything happening in AI and cloud, the opportunity to do that is wider than it's ever been. So go all in, because honestly, what's the alternative? Sitting on the sidelines, making excuses, watching the biggest technology shift of our lifetimes happening and deciding to do nothing about it. This is the most exciting time to be alive if you're in tech or trying to break into it. I am all in on this every single day. I love this game, and I think you should feel the same way. AI and tech shouldn't be a source of anxiety for you. It should be a source of excitement because of the opportunities that exist right now and how much easier it's become to learn new skills and get ahead. So double down, and you won't look back at this moment with regret. As always, I'm rooting for you, and become undeniable.